Hello, welcome back to Coach Bill's Sports Show. If it's your first time watching, thank you for joining us. If it's football related, we pretty well do it here. If it's college, pro, NFL, all that good stuff. Trying to do a little something different today. Going to try to wrap up all the college stuff in one episode. So hopefully it doesn't go too long. We'll just see how it works. Trying something new today. So the week that was in college football. Last weekend, we learned a couple things from a couple schools. But let's start right there at the top with Georgia. Georgia looks like they could go back-to-back this season. They have dominated over the first three games so far. It's without a doubt, without a question. There are some very small weaknesses. And I mean very small weaknesses they have. But I don't see a team that's going to be talented enough or have the offensive setup enough to really exploit some of those weaknesses. On top of that, they're going to have the best linebacker and safety cores in the nation to guard those three linebackers, to guard those three tight ends. They are monsters. Plain and simple. I don't know how they found those three freaks in nature and convinced them to play tight end together, but 1, 2, and 3 are all extremely talented, extremely athletic, and huge. Absolutely huge. They downright wreak havoc. And I feel horrible for any defensive coordinator that has to try to schedule or figure out how to play those guys. It's a heavy task. So good luck, defensive coordinators. Good luck. Some of the other top 10 teams, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Kentucky. Pretty much all the top 10 really handled their business against lesser opponents. Majority of the wins were by over 28 points. Didn't really learn anything from those games. Y'all beat up on a smaller team. Here's what you're supposed to do. You've done it in the past. Outside of Kentucky, you've really shown it in the past. So, it was what it was. We did see a few teams show a little bit of growth this week. In particular, Tennessee, Baylor, and NC State. Tennessee and Baylor both did something they were supposed to do, but they've struggled with in the past. This time they did it exceedingly well. And that is beat that smaller school. It's not too long ago that Tennessee fans will remember losing to a Georgia Southern or one of those small schools like that. So it's very nice to see those schools take a step forward. NC State beat another Power 5 school, Texas Tech, and showed that they are progressing from where they started the season, which was really nice to see from them, especially for a school that's supposed to challenge Clemson in the ACC. It was really good to see them progress a little bit. But with the good comes the bad. And there was some struggle. There was a lot of struggle bus this week. Florida, Arkansas, Michigan State, Miami, Wake Forest, BYU. I'm looking at all y'all. The only one I will give a pass to is BYU. You went into Oregon and lost to a ranked Oregon team. There's no shame in that. Now, you were the higher ranked team, so you were expected to win, but there's no shame in that. And I'll tell you what, that Oregon loss to Georgia just became that much more impressive, the way they played against BYU. But that's a different time, different thing. Wake Forest struggled against a middle-tier team in Liberty. It literally took a late push in the fourth for them to even win by 1. So we'll see how that works out for you this week, Wake. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Arkansas, you know, they were losing to their former head coach at Missouri State. Took a 21-point fourth quarter to win by 11. Now, to be honest, I'm a little surprised Arkansas was able to make that comeback, because previously I believed that they were a team that was built to be ahead and grind from ahead. That's how we've seen Arkansas play football, and when they've gotten behind, they haven't really been able to catch up. I understand this was a Missouri State, and this wasn't really a Power 5 school, but it still was good to see that they had that ability. No matter what the talent level, they had the ability to do it. Little silver lining there for them. Florida. Florida, you beat Utah first week, and then you came back and you played Kentucky, and Kentucky beat you up. And you struggled against USF, South Florida. The defense and the special team deserve credit for this win. Offensively, y'all were just not there. I don't know what it was. I don't know what caused it, but if it wasn't for a 62-yard field goal and a pick six in the second quarter, USF would have been beating you pretty hard. So you wouldn't have been in the place for ETN to make that last, I think it was with like 4 or 5 minutes left on the clock, touchdown. You just weren't going to be there. So, rough week ahead coming to Tennessee. Big game. You're going to learn a lot about both Tennessee and Florida in that game. But we'll discuss that here in a minute when we go to the week ahead. So, there are points in the season. There are some weekends that have no weight in the games that are played. None whatsoever. Luckily, this is not that week. There are some huge matchups on slate, and I am extremely excited about it. Starting up, we got Florida versus Tennessee. So it's a rivalry game. Hasn't really been that big of a rivalry since 2000. Florida's won 18 out of 22 meetings. They had a 15 straight win streak, and they're currently on a 5 win streak. So Tennessee's got a lot to prove. Second year with Coach Heupel, this offense looking the way it does, that defense looking better. I think they're going to be able to prove it, especially with Florida kind of struggling. We haven't really seen Florida's best, and I don't think we've seen Florida's worst. So, what Florida team shows up? That's the big question. I think it would be very huge for Tennessee this year to break the streak, get that monkey off their back, and reset it back to a rivalry like it was in the 90s, where both teams would meet ranked and both teams would go at it. Absolutely go at it. There were a few years where one team would decimate the other, but for the most part, they were very good games and very close games in that rivalry, especially in the 90s. Tennessee just right now is looking like more of a complete team. We'd go a long way for the fan base, for the national view of the team, for them to win this game. And I know Florida will give us their best shot, give Tennessee their best shot. And they should be ready for it. They should not expect the Florida team they saw against UCF. They should expect a Florida team like they saw against Utah. So if Tennessee's ready for it, it's going to be a big statement for Tennessee and a big win for Tennessee. We go a long way to setting them up strongly for the end of this year. Another big game on the slate is Clemson at Wake Forest. Two ranked teams They meet as ranked teams for the first time in a long time. Both had some early struggles in the season, but have found ways to stay undefeated. So it is two undefeated teams that are going to be meeting in Wake Forest. Wake Forest has looked a little bit better, a little bit more explosive on offense this season, but they haven't faced a defense the caliber of Clemson yet. And Clemson's defense is no joke. That is definitely one of the better defenses they've had. Fun little stat for this. Both defenses have allowed the same yards per game at 314.7, but the difference in that has been Clemson has allowed 243 yards passing, while Wake Forest has only allowed 192. Now, to flip that means that Wake Forest is allowing teams to rush for over 100 yards every game, and they're about to face Clemson, who is averaging 182 yards a game rushing. I think this could be a big week for the running backs, but I'm really curious to watch DJ and see how he plays. If he continues to play with that shaky, I'm not sure of myself kind of attitude, you're going to start hearing a lot of noise for the young guy, Cade. He's looked good in his limited appearances, and it'll be real hard for Coach Sweeney not to see what he's got in the young guy, because he knows what he's got in DJ. Next up, you got Baylor at Iowa State. Iowa State is going to be a big game as far as the Big 12 goes for later in the season. That's pretty much it for this one. This one really ties into the Big 12 race and the Big 12 championship. You got Notre Dame at UNC. Both teams haven't really come into their own yet. They've had some struggles. They've gotten some close wins. So it's a very interesting matchup. Notre Dame came off a big win with Manti Te'o coming back, but now they got to go on the road to North Carolina. Can Mays continue to be as explosive as he has been? It's just a really fascinating matchup right there. The next one, I need you to brace yourselves for. It's Duke and Kansas. I know it's not basketball season. Trust me, I understand. Not basketball season at all. But Duke and Kansas have slowly but surely kind of set themselves up to be talked about. Just double checking to make sure I got. If I'm not mistaken, both teams are undefeated right now. Which is what I'm currently looking up. Yeah, so Duke Blue Devils are 3-0. Kansas Jayhawks are 3-0. So Duke and Kansas meet undefeated, not in the week one, and it's a football field. So it's a wild game. This one is just pure entertainment, pure fun, just to see whose hype train is going to get bigger, Kansas or Duke. Following that, we got Arkansas at Texas A&M. Arkansas struggled last week. Texas A&M played Miami. Texas A&M has that loss against Appalachian State they've got to redeem themselves for. And what's a better way than to beat back-to-back ranked teams in Miami and Arkansas? Arkansas showed last week they can come back from a deficit, but the way Texas A&M's offense is built and been running, it kind of expired in 2014. Yeah, they may have more talent, But that offensive scheme is holding them back, and it's bad. It's bad. At least Arkansas has something fresh with their offense in comparison. So, nice little grudge match down there. Texas A&M versus Arkansas. Really, really fun game to watch on Saturday. Talking about another fun game, one that's got some implications to it. Wisconsin at Ohio State. This is Wisconsin's first real matchup of the season. Yep. Yeah, this is Wisconsin's first real matchup of the season to figure out where they are. They are 2-1. They did drop one, but can they hang with the big dogs in Ohio State? And for Ohio State, this is a point in time where they can step forward and be like, look, we are that team. We are the number 3 team in the nation. Put some respect on the name. So, another good one there. Some of the later ones, you got USC at Oregon State. You got Kansas State at Oklahoma, Maryland and Michigan, Oregon and Washington State. You got some little bit of big boys taking on some trap teams in those games. Kansas State, sneaky team that could beat Oklahoma. Oregon State's a sneaky team that could beat USC. Maryland's one of those sneaky teams that could jump out at you any weekend. And Washington State could surprise Oregon. So I clustered those together because they all have the same kind of motto. You got a bigger team playing a team that they shouldn't overlook. And as long as they don't, they'll be okay. But do they overlook them? That's the question. That's why we play the games. So it's gonna be an exciting weekend. I am beyond shocked to be able to say that Duke and Kansas are both undefeated in football and playing each other. It's crazy to me. Clemson Wake's going to be a great game. Tennessee Florida is going to be a really good one. There's just some really good football this weekend. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff definitely helps us out here. And I hope you enjoy the games this weekend. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Ready, break.